Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Touchback podcast. It is week 14 of the NFL season and almost playoff time for our fantasy football leagues. I know that I just clinched in one of my leagues. Megan, how about you?
I haven't clinched yet, but I'm looking like I'm going to, so I'm second overall.
Hey, that's if you have some kind of drop off, that would be quite a disappointment. But you should
It
clinch this
would.
week. This week, I would imagine either way. All right, let's
Let
go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for first off hanging with us. Sorry we did not get that part two out last week. I was sick. My family was sick. It was no time to do it, and you didn't want to see me hacking and being awful on the stream. So we decided to just show you guys what we usually do during the comments with our part one, and hopefully that was able to help you guys out through the injuries that were somewhat of a surprise with Alvin Kamara last week. So we will see if he comes back this week, but not too many injuries that we're gonna have to discuss this week, luckily. Um, but to start that off with, we got Justin Herbert, who broke his left hand, in the game last week. He did come back. They had it taped up. It is his left hand, so it's not his throwing hand, so that is good. Just like Aaron Rodgers, he already had surgery on Monday, and he has that extra day of rest being a Monday Night Football game. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, we thought it was an Achilles pop. It does not look to be. It looks like to be a ankle sprain of some kind. He is
or
questionable.
calf injury,
Yeah,
something
it's
like that.
something around there. They're being real hush hush on it, as is Dan Campbell's way. It's something where we will go ahead and see. Obviously, stuff pop up. We'll put it in the comments like we always do. But that's all that we really have. Which overall for fantasy football, other than for new injuries,
It's late in the season, yeah, for
that's
sure.
pretty good. That's all right. So now the bye weeks going into that before we get into the matchups. Finally, week 14. It's a super late bye for these guys, and some of them are playoff teams, and some of them aren't. So Carolina Panthers, surprisingly, one of those playoff teams finally getting a rest on there. The Patriots are hoping to go ahead and stand firm. The Giants, they need a rest, but they're probably just are going to be licking wounds. You'll probably see some stuff happening with their front office and the San Francisco 49ers, which we always say have injury problems. Right now, they don't have any injury problems. So I guess get healthy and hopefully don't get injured on the bye week. And that's the kind of my thought process on the whole thing. You have anything else to say about the bye weeks, Meg?
I don't. Is it our last set of bye weeks?
Let
Or
me
do we have one more?
think we might have one more. No. This could be the last week for bye weeks. Yeah, last week for bye weeks in
Awesome.
the NFL. So we are back to full slate football. Monday or Thursday, Saturdays, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because we're gonna start getting to those Saturday games, as
Yeah.
of week 16. So, right in that pressured time for the playoffs. We will be with you the entire way, and we'll do the matchups like we always do, and those are coming up next.
If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you. So this week, week 14, there's a ton of games, as we talked about before, but we kind of liked what we did last week with trying to go. Chris takes half of them, the home teams this week, and I take the other half for each individual games. Win a little bit quicker, I could keep them on pace a little bit better. Um, but that's what we're gonna try and do this time. So starting off Thursday, December 4th, happy birthday, Mom. I have the Dallas Cowboys, and uh, first off, Dak Prescott has been a star this year. I don't know what fire he got underneath him, but he has shown that he wants to play and he's bringing his team along with him. George Pickens is probably my pick for a wide receiver here. Coming off several games with six or more receptions. The Lions like to play a lot of man coverage, which is really great for Pickens. Because thrives comes to getting away from those receivers that are targeting him mostly. If you have CD Lamb, also a good pickup. Probably not going to do as well as George Pickens based off of last week. Um, Javonte Williams at running back, also going to be okay with the pass defense the Lions have. Um, we should see him be able to do better to avoid what I'm trying to say. Because they have a pass defense in Detroit, we want to also expect that Javonte Williams is going to do well because he's running back. Chris, Detroit?
Detroit, essentially from this game, it's going to be offensive. And which offense can do better because that's the point of football. But it's and the Detroit Lions actually go ahead and score against this Dallas defense that people were doing earlier in the year, and then the trade deadline happens, and now people are having a harder time. So this is going to be a big Jameer Gibbs, Dave Montgomery tandem type week. I don't know, like we talked about with the injuries with Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he plays, how much he's going to be involved. That means Jameson Williams. That means Sam Laporta also, if he plays, are going to be. I think Sam Laporta is playing, so it possibly be Brock Wright, and that's a maybe as well. So it's something where you have to go ahead and see, do the Detroit Lions have enough weapons to keep up with the Dallas Cowboys? Again, normally yes, but it's can they run the ball and keep that Dallas offense off? That's kind of where we're on that one. As for going into Sunday, we got the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks starting up the lineup for the 1 o'clock games. Atlanta is coming off of a big week for Bijan Robinson. I kind of expect them to do the same thing. They want to keep that Seattle offense off the field, and that defense is right for the taking against the run. So I don't really expect Falcons to do much passing. Excuse me. We don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to play or it's Michael Penix Jr. yet. I imagine that if you're going to have Kirk Cousins, it's going to be more Bijan. If you have Michael Penix, it's probably going to be a good 50-50 on Bijan and Algier. So if you have Tyler Algier in the free agency, this is always good to pick him up. He likes to steal touchdowns from Bijan Robinson, but Bijan Robinson's going to get them. We also don't know if Drake London is going to play in this game. So that's again Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts. So running backs on the Atlanta side. What about Seattle?
Seattle's offense is built around versatility, right? So I like Sam Darnold here as a quarterback pick for our week. Definitely JSN. Definitely want to make sure that we're looking at Kenneth Walker the second or third as well. All with that versatility, he can go with anybody, and all three of them are great targets, especially with Atlanta's defense not doing exceptionally this year. They haven't been terrible, but against a team like the Seahawks, they're not going to be able to keep up. Um, as far as defense for the Seahawks goes, I definitely would consider them this week. They like to force turnovers, and we all know that Atlanta is great at giving up those turnovers in previous weeks that we've seen. Anything else you want to say about this game, Chris?
Well, go ahead and move us over to the Baltimore game.
The Baltimore game. I looked at the Steelers, was like, that's not doesn't say Baltimore. Late. Um so if you watched the Steelers game last week, which you know that both Chris and I did, it was definitely a team that we're not used to seeing in Pittsburgh. They didn't play as well. They didn't have good playmaking. Like it seemed like they just weren't connected at all. Um Aaron Rodgers is always a great um quarterback to watch. He has his moments. Um but I just don't see him doing well here at all against the Ravens. The Ravens have come around this last couple of weeks and are making their presence known, and as far as Aaron Rodgers concerned. I think that he is a little scared of being hit and does not really want to play anymore, even though he keeps saying that he does. Not to mention he has this new um wrist potential injury or something that's going on, and we'll see. Like he'll play. I'm sure he will start, but I'm not expecting him to do much at all. His top wide receiver obviously is DK Metcalf. Um, he is able to move that ball when he gets it. But I don't really expect that he's going to be able to do much with as great of a defense as Baltimore is. Um, really all I have for the
Yeah.
Steelers, Chris.
And that's perfectly fine because the Steelers, like we said last week, they didn't really have much of the game plan against Buffalo. Buffalo, all they did was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Well, what does the Ravens do? They just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. They just do it with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And Buffalo last week ran the ball, same play, 19 times, and got 7 to 15 yards every single time on that play. That the duo play that they ran on the right, the Buffalo Bills just absolutely ran over them. And the Ravens love running duo. They absolutely love running just to the right. Derrick Henry plows with two blockers in front of him right off of the tight end. That is their sweet spot. So the Steelers are going to have a hard time. And like you said, if they're not willing to step up and meet the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to get punched in the mouth because the Bills punched them in the mouth with the running game and they were chippy, but this is a division lineup right here. This is right now if Pittsburgh wants to make a push at that playoff because the Baltimore Ravens stole it from them, they have to win the game. But Baltimore has the advantage. They have all the momentum, they have all the advantage, and right now they are going to make the playoffs because nobody else in their division can actually can actually stop them. So another team in that division is the Cleveland Browns. With the Cleveland Browns, you have them coming in or them hosting Tennessee, and we'll be real quick on Tennessee because we don't usually give Tennessee much credit, but Tennessee showed us a little something last week, which was it was good to see. Let's put it.
Yeah, they stayed in the game for
Yeah, they
sure.
stayed in the game. But excuse me. But it was just something where they. Okay, I didn't say they stayed in the game. Jacksonville took over, but it was something where it didn't feel like the 25-3 loss that they had. So I still expect Cleveland not to put up that many points against the Tennessee Titans.
Because they don't have to.
Right. Excuse me. Sorry, guys.
I
And
can talk to it a little bit too, Chris, if you
yeah,
want to
um,
cough.
I'll finish up what I'm quickly going to say. The defense is really where we're going to be focusing in on. Q Jenkins is going to be another one. So those are kind of your two from Cleveland. Um, Go ahead and talk about Tennessee if you have anything to say, man.
I don't have much. I mean, like Chris said, I I feel bad for the Titans, right? Like it's been a really bad year for them and they just keep getting sacked with all of these good teams, and I expect that the Browns are going to hopefully do better than they did in the last couple of weeks. Hoping their defense shows up a little bit more, but again, it's Titans, so it's not hard to show up against the Tennessee Titans. Um I'm not sure, Chris, we haven't talked about this Shamir Dyke guy. Have you spent any time looking into him?
So Jameer Dyke, I've looked in. He was a third, fourth, fifth stringer. That has just come up because of injuries. Because they're just trying
Yeah.
to say, hey, we don't have anybody else. Let's try to give someone else a chance and see what they're gonna. They can make him play. And honestly, because there's no tape on him, everyone is
Yeah.
kind of not expecting his speed. So that's kind of where they're getting. But as soon as they start getting tape on him, they're going to see what he does, and most teams are just going to shut him down because like, hey, that's a weapon. Let's double team him and make them use somebody else.
Yeah, it seems like he's been consistent at the very least in getting that speed down the field. He's a return guy, and he's making some good yardage. So if you're looking for somebody, if you're played with injuries or you just want a fresh face, then I would be shocked if he's not available in your fantasy league.
Very, very good. All right, the Washington Commanders and Minnesota Vikings. We rarely see this matchup, honestly.
Yeah.
Minnesota, they are struggling, but they're only struggling because injuries have killed them all season long. We'll see if Aaron Jones plays again. He did come up lame last game, but again,
Hmm.
he is questionable. They expect him to play, but him and his age, never know. JJ McCarthy, he's learning, but still very, very slow. And Justin Jefferson, I mean, it's hard to watch him do because you know the skill that the man has and you know what he can bring to the team, and he gets frustrated, but he also
Hmm.
understands the scenario. So I would just I'd be cautious. They have a good matchup against the Commanders defense, so I expect there to be a 20 to 28 game or something like that. So high scoring, but honestly, I don't. It could be which either team is gonna be leading at the end.
Yeah, sounds good. The Washington Commanders are, an inconsistent team. Same thing, right? They're not really a team that we can rely on, but they have flashes of really, really great stuff. When we look at Jaden Daniels, if he plays this week or if he doesn't play this week, we were again very inconsistent. Um, I really feel like Washington's issues could resurface in this game just because the Minnesota Vikings kind of need that bounce back. But I also see them as being somebody who can take it on and do what they need to do in this matchup.
And I mean, like you said, it's just gonna be a toss up. But another game
Yeah.
that's gonna be a toss up that we're going to is this Miami Dolphins New York Jets game. The Jets won last week, which
Yeah.
I actually I kind of was flipping through the games with Red Zone being on, and I didn't realize that the Jets won. And then all of a sudden, I see um all the Twitter stuff and saying, "Hey, yeah, it's Aaron Glenn. He's have them doing a speech and blah blah blah." And I'm like, wait, who they play? Oh, they play the Falcons. But wait, the John Robinson have like three. What do you mean? Yeah, sure enough, the Jets still won 27-24. And I mean, kudos to them. They're going to need to play the exact same kind of game against the Dolphins. Brees Hall, he's got to run the ball a lot. I think this is going to really be a game of who's going to run the ball more. Adonai Mitchell is another player that Tyrod Taylor has really come to trust as well. He's also catching the ball for Tyrod better than he was doing for Justin Fields. So that is a perk. And then that tight end, that rookie tight end that they have, Mason Taylor, is again every that is the one bright spot for the New York Jets is that every single week he's growing, he's being more consistent, and he's showing that you know what he has a bright future in this league as long as the Jets don't dead him up. So that's all I got to say about the Jets. What about the Dolphins? How are they going to win this game?
I don't know what to expect with this game. Both teams are pretty much out of the playoffs. And they're as far as the Bills and the Patriots are concerned, like there's just not room for them. So I don't expect either of them to really push for this game. Um, Dolphins can be inconsistent. They can be um worry about that defense and worry about the injuries that they've had. That's been a year where we're not expecting them to do much, and I think they've done well with what they have. Um, I feel like the Jets offense isn't going to be able to stack up against the Miami defense. Miami, when they want something, they really go out and get it. But this game is also in New York, and it's a lot colder in New York than it is in Miami right now. So I'm expecting it to be either a game of them not even trying or a game of the Jets taking their win last week and trying to show Miami where they're at. So it'll be an interesting game to watch.
Why don't you talk about the New Orleans Saints in this Tampa Bay matchup?
The New Orleans Saints, gotta love them. I feel like with their rookie Shuck that we're seeing some progress. We're seeing him grow a little bit. I still do not trust him. And I really feel like that's sad to say for, players like Chris Olave and um what is his name?
Alvin Kamara.
Thank you. Um they it's just not really a team that we like to watch, and they go up against a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's also going to be difficult to put anything together. Like I said, Chris Olave is probably their best receiving threat on that team. He's probably the brightest spot as far as I'm concerned. And then defensively, they're actually doing pretty good with fumble recoveries and turnovers and takeaways and all that kind of stuff. But again, they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I don't hate the team. They have a lot of good pieces, but they're not working together very well. And I don't really see them working well against Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Yeah. I
which
mean,
is fun to say.
it is very fun to say. But the biggest thing that I will tell you with the Buccaneers is that the connection between Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin is back. I mean, we knew that it wasn't going to take a lot of time, but I mean, Godwin has become his go-to receiver. Like Luke is starting to draw those double teams. People have forgotten about Godwin, and Godwin is just tearing people up.
Well, he was
So,
injured for a while,
right.
so that
And people are saying,
is
well, why is he coming back? It's so close to the end of the season. I mean, he's not going to do anything. Well, he's doing something. And this week, also, we might have Mike Evans come back as well. They opened up his 21-day window. There is reports that he is actually practicing and that he could go this week. So we are going to keep an eye on that. I don't expect him to do much, but that is something interesting to keep an eye on because that three-headed monster, you know how we like to be wary of those teams that do have them because you just never know where the attack is coming from. All right, let's go ahead and go to the Cincinnati versus Buffalo. Buffalo had a big game. We already talked about that against Pittsburgh last week. I expect them to do the exact same type of thing. Go ahead and run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. See if Cincinnati can stop it. If the weather is a factor because it's December in Buffalo, then Cincinnati will have to keep up with it. They know how to deal with weather. So, how do you keep Joe Burrow off the field? How do you keep Jamar Chase off the field? Is you run the ball and use that with Josh. Use that with James Cook. I think we're gonna see essentially what the Buffalo Bills did last year against San Francisco. They're gonna do the exact same thing against Cincinnati. Couple short passes, a lot of swing passes, and see if those edge rushers can get there. So I think it's a big James Cook game again this. What about Cincinnati, May?
Well, like you said, Joe Burrow is back, and that is exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals need this week. Um, we we also have T. Higgins potentially healthy, and we know that the Buffalo Bills secondary is shot as far as being able to uh get those receivers before they make those touchdown passes. So I expect that both Joe Burrow and T. Higgins are going to have good games. I also expect that um, the Bengals have a defense, while inconsistent some of the time, can also really be a problem for the Bills' run defense. And especially the Bills' run, especially if they're expecting James Cook to be the primary guy, then they're going to go after James Cook, like we've also seen it in previous weeks from other teams and matchups. So I'm not sure what I would expect. I hope, obviously, that the Bills win this game, but I just I expect Cincinnati to come and show who they are and try to keep up with that history of playing very, very well in Buffalo.
I actually one thing that to think about has nothing to do with fantasy, but it does have to do with the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe if Cincinnati loses this game and Pittsburgh wins, I believe Cincinnati's out of the playoff hunt. They are their backs are
All together?
literally all together. I believe their backs are so far against the wall. I believe they can be eliminated from the playoffs after this week if they lose. So that
That's
is
bad. Yeah.
yeah.
It's even more of a chance for them to play. But also with them not feeling, they're going to make mistakes because they're playing hard and emotionally.
And Buffalo's, I mean, they're still trying to get to chase those the Patriots because they have the Patriots next week. So lot of big games for those two teams. Next up, we got the Broncos versus the Raiders. All I can say is that the Raiders are going to play hard because it's the Broncos. That's about
As
all
they
I
should.
can say. Brock Bowers will do well. Ashton Genty will try to do well, but he won't be able to move. Those are really the only two players from the Raiders, like we have said, that you need to be worried about at all. There is no wide receiver on that team that they are able to utilize um because they can't get him the ball. That it is so disappointing that Geno Smith cannot get anybody the ball right now other than Brock Bowers. That's because Brock Bowers is just the outlet. That's all it is. So that's all I'm really going to say about the Raiders. You can go ahead and embellish on Denver for a few minutes if you like.
uh, you know, the Broncos are number 1 seed, is that correct? Um, or at least the
They're number
top.
one.
That's what I thought. Um, which is not expected. And I'm very happy that they are able to do as well as they are and have no idea how. They have a great defense, they have consistency and momentum. Um, and obviously, the Raiders are not going to be as good of a team that they're playing against. So I obviously, like you said, expect that the Broncos are going to do well this week um, as well. Definitely Broncos defense if you have them. Definitely Bo Nix if you have him. Um, I I just expect them to. They're
In short, if you
they're an
have a
amazing
Bronco
team this year. Yeah, exactly. Like play the Broncos, don't play the Raiders. End of story.
short and sweet. All right.
Yes.
Another
Speaking of
divisional.
number 1 seed.
Uh, Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about the Bears since you had the two number one seeds this week?
I know we weren't necessarily expecting that, but they both are away as well, which is not necessarily a good thing. Chicago Bears play the Green Bay Packers, and if you followed Chicago Bears football at all, then you know that this is a huge rivalry between these two teams, and it always ends up with the Green Bay Packers winning. And if you look at this year, and how Chicago's playing versus how Green Bay is playing, I'm expecting Chicago to do better than Green Bay. And I know that's not necessarily what everybody else is saying, but I think they're on a roll, and I think that they really want to proceed into the playoffs and potentially to the Super Bowl, and that's what we're going to see. Um, Chicago has a strong rushing game. Um, we also see the defense forcing turnovers, and being a team to contend with. And on the Packers side, we see them not necessarily being able to defend against those things. So we're expecting that Chicago's going to do well here. Um, I don't know that um going to I don't know that I would sit any of my Bears players this week because one, it's the rivalry, and two, they're really just doing well this week,
Yeah,
this year.
I kind of agree with you on that, but you wonder how well Micah Parsons is going to take over, right? So the Green Bay Packers defense, it's not someone to kind of sneeze at, but it's also somebody that they're not consistent. And like we said, it's December, so weather's going to play a factor.
But they're
And
both cold weather teams.
yes, but Caleb Williams was a USC quarterback, and therefore, uh, we'll see. We
Mhm.
will see. But Jordan Love has to hold up a tradition by beating the Chicago Bears. That is the one team that the Green Bay Packers, if you lose every single game in the season, you do not lose to Chicago. That is a very quick way to be axed from the team. We'll see if Josh Jacobs plays. He did a little bit last week. Wilson was also in there, so we look forward to them actually playing together. And then what wide receivers are going to be available. Again, I kind of expect Chicago to come out on top of this, but it's going to be a high scoring game, I have a feeling. The only way Green Bay
Yeah.
comes out on top is if their defense plays some really good. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun one to absolutely watch. I believe Fox is carrying this one. So they got a great game on there. Um, Off to the Arizona Cardinal game. We are going to go ahead and see how they are playing against the Rams. This matchup scares me, honestly, for the Cardinals because Jacoby Brissett, yes, he's putting up about 275 yards a game and a couple touchdowns, a couple turnovers. Not somebody I would say start unless you have one of these bye week guys. But again, this is against the Rams, who have a defense that is absolutely just killing it right now because being the Rams. So just be aware if you need somebody, that is an option for you. He has the wide receivers to help you out. Trey McBride's been scoring at least one touchdown a game pretty much all season. Marvin Harrison came back last week and seemed to be all right. And those are going to be their weapons. That's quite literally it. For Arizona. Other than that, Los Angeles, Megan, what are they going to do, and how are they going to destroy the Arizona Cardinals?
We don't know that for sure. You know, when the Cardinals get a fire underneath them, they have a fantastic game. So I wouldn't necessarily count them out. Plus, it's Monday night. Um, and yeah, I think it'll be a good game to watch. The Rams lost to the Carolina Panthers last week, which is surprising. I would not have expected that whatsoever. And I would expect that this game they want to show that they are not the team that loses to the Carolina Panthers. They have great passing weapons in Los Angeles. And they've had a fairly strong season this year. I guess they have the same record that I do. So 9-3, leading the NFC West. So I I expect them to play hard. I expect um them to be able to do well against the Cardinals. I just expect that if the Cardinals are going to beat a team, it's going to be the Rams based off of last week and their needs to play well. Um, Obviously Matt Stafford, he's doing amazingly with passing yards this season, about 256 yards a game. Um, he's he's quick and he can get that ball out when he needs to, and the Arizona defense will not be able to keep up with him. Kyron Williams also has been a strong uh, running back for the team. So when um, handoffs are necessary, we're expecting some good lanes for him to be able to jump into or run into, I guess. And then obviously Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, again, they're just really strong, solid wide receivers that I would definitely start on my fantasy team if I had them. Um, Defensively, I definitely would pick the Rams over the Cardinals here because they are 9-3, right? So I expect that they're going to be able to keep Arizona contained and um, keep Jacoby Brissett from throwing that ball as much as he loves to.
I mean, and he's
So
gonna wing it. I mean, don't be wrong. Jacoby Brissett is going to wing that ball, but he's just it's going to benefit the Rams more than it will benefit the Cardinals.
yeah, there's a chance of that for sure. I mean, turnovers are always, or interceptions are always something that we can expect from the Rams, but I also expect Jacoby to crumple under pressure, So we'll have to see where the Rams focus their defense on, if it's going to be the receivers or if it's going to be specifically the pass rush. So I would expect it to be more the receivers than the pass rush.
We'll go ahead and see. Another
Yep.
game that we will see, big wide receiver secondary matchup is the Houston Texans versus Kansas City. The Chiefs need to win. Okay? They're right now outside the playoffs. They need the win. There's another team that also needs the win, the Houston Texans. Both teams are on the outside looking in. Houston is one game up on the Chiefs, and if the Chiefs win this game, then they will have the tiebreaker against Houston. Um, Chiefs have lost the tiebreaker pretty much against every other team in the wild card right now because they aren't going to catch the Broncos. Broncos win another game, they were officially too far ahead from the Chiefs getting the winning the division. I know it's crazy to think about, but that's how it is. So you guys know the Chiefs players. It's gonna be Mahomes. It's gonna be Kelsey. It's gonna be Rasheed Rice. It's gonna be Xavier Worthy. It's gonna be the normal players, but expect the Kansas City Chiefs defense to step it up. That's really gonna be the new who I would expect to go ahead and show up this week are the Chiefs defense. Sunday Night Football. The Houston Texans offense is not in the best place, but again, they are desperate. They're good. So it's something where the Chiefs are going to have to show up on all three phases in order to win this game, and that means nothing but good things for all the Chiefs fantasy players.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the same thing, Chris. The only person that I would even consider playing from the Texans is CJ Stroud or maybe Fairbairn.
Is CJ Stroud
I'll
playing?
I think so. I think he's out of concussion protocol.
Okay. Well, that's news to me. Great. They might have a chance.
Um, maybe, right? Like you just said, the Chiefs defense is insane. And if especially with CJ just coming back and probably being a little shy of that those those defenders coming after him, I can see it being potentially very, very dangerous. And then because of that, Nico Collins, who has been their all-star, is probably not going to see that ball very much at all. Um, but he'll probably see a fair share of targets, but targets have to get there. Um, and then, like I said, I expect the Texans to try and win with field goals, and so Fairbairn is probably a good pick on this game.
All right, let's finish it up with the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers. Two playoff teams, two teams just vying for position. Eagles are right now in the wild card, as are the Chargers. Both are looking up at their divisions. Both of them are about a game or two behind
Mm-hmm.
the division lead. So they're two teams in the exact same spot. The Chargers have opened up the 21-day window on a bunch of their injured players that got injured at the beginning of the year. So you have Marion Hampton is opened up his window. You have Haskins who opened up his window. So expect, like we said, as long as Herbert can play, Keenan Allen should be in there. You have Conkey should also be somebody you need to be looking at. Vidal had a incredible game last week. So just keep an eye out for who's actually going to be playing this game. But I would expect this to be a high scoring game from both.
Yeah, for sure. Same thing here as the previous. If Jalen Hurts can hold on to that ball, then I expect the Eagles to be viable here. He's going to take a lot of or use AJ Brown a lot. Saquon Barkley is really showing out to be both running and passing or receiving those passes. Um, I'm a little shy of Saquon. He's been inconsistent this year as far as being able to hang on to that ball, and I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going on with him, but if Jalen can get that ball, and I'm not really concerned that he can really, then I definitely would pick him and AJ Brown on your fantasy teams.
All right, that wraps up our matchups for this week. When we come back, we'll do our normal start, sits, and traps, and hopefully get this cat out of my way.
Make sure to like and subscribe now.
All right, welcome back. Now it's our time to talk about the start, sits, and traps. If we didn't forget a game, so my bad on that. I will go ahead and make sure that we get all the games next week, especially since we're going to have every single every single team with us, like we talked about with the bye weeks. But that one game was the Colts versus the Jaguars. They're playing in Jacksonville. Should be a fairly good weather game. This is a game of who wins going to be at the top of their division. So the Colts and the Jaguars are fighting for that right now. The Jaguars hold that because they have a better division record um, with Trevor Lawrence there, with Trevor Etienne there, Brian Thomas Jr., with Jacoby Myers. I mean, really, that trade for them has benefited them better than anything that they were getting out of Travis Hunter at the time. So the rookie's going to make his mark. Just right now, having Jacoby Myers on that team, he's doing exactly what they. Those are the team. Those are really going to be your people to focus on this week in that matchup specifically. What do you think about the Colts, Meg?
Yeah, I think the Colts defense is the one to watch this game. I feel like their secondary is really, really great, and Trevor Lawrence likes to throw that ball. So, definitely Colts defense there. And other offensive type matchups, we have Daniel Jones, which we like most of the time. I feel like last week he didn't really show up like he has in the past, but overall he tends to be a pretty solid quarterback. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is on the Colts and has been a monster this year. And I also like Michael Pittman Jr. at wide receiver.
Don't forget about that rookie tight end Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce has been catching touchdowns here and there. So really good matchup for fantasy lineups. But that's where
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and bring in our sleepers. And to start off with is Trevor Lawrence in this matchup. Megan says, watch out for that defense. Kind of why we put him in a sleeper instead of a lock position. He's been on fire, so we'll see if that Colts defense can slow him down, but he should still be able to give you some. Bucky Irving came back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mark Andrews just signed a massive contract.
Massive.
So that is going to, you say, hey, Baltimore, we're playing Pittsburgh. Let's show off a little bit. Jake Elliott, always a good kicker to go ahead and have in weather and in a dome. And luckily, he's playing in a dome this week. And the Cleveland Browns, like we talked about over during the matchup section. Next up, we're going to go ahead and have our traps. Kind of went through all of this already. Only thing we didn't was the Travis Kelsey, Harrison Butker. Why we would specifically think that they're a trap. Um, I don't like the matchup for Kelsey or Butker in this situation. Do you have anything else to add, Megan, with this?
Yeah, I feel like Kelsey has just been not a player to watch this year whatsoever, and especially this week, I'm not really seeing it for him. They need the game, and he's going to play it, as well as he can. But if you look at previous games, he just really has not been the player that we've seen him in previous years. So I agree with you there.
Wonder if that retirement's starting to look real nice. Closer it gets if they don't make the playoffs. So see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
Watching his
final,
brother do it.
yeah, exactly. You see how much fun his brother's having.
Yeah.
So all right, and for the locks, we really went into this hard on everything. Matthew Stafford is going to be the leading MVP right now in the league. James
Yeah.
Cook, like I said, going talk about the Bills, run, run, run. Brian Thomas Jr. at leading wide receiver, doing a lot of stuff for Trevor Lawrence. Tyler Warren, as we also brought up in that Colts game. It's
Yep.
going to be a real big fantasy matchup, and I can't believe we have it on the list. I completely fumbled that one. But then Jake Bates, ha ha ha. Jake Bates, gotta get our football references and puns in there as we. Jake Bates with the Detroit Lions. I think we'll have a big game. Might not be a large score in the Detroit game, but it's Detroit and Dallas, so Jake Bates, I kind of say, hey, we're gonna take the points where we can get them, and then of course the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is what we discussed during the match. All right. That seems to be
That's
week
it.
14. Yeah, real quick. We the beginning we're real quick on just so that we can, and the end we're real quick on just so that we can really get into the meat of the matchups, and that's what we like to do here on the Fantasy Football Touchback. Megan, where can they find us?
Yeah, definitely follow us here on YouTube. Definitely subscribe so that you can get all of our updates. Section, as always, we'll have all of our injury updates, anything else we see throughout the next couple of days before um, the games start playing, and then Twitter, sorry, X. We make updates there as well. So like and subscribe here. Follow us on X.
And the last thing we always say is nobody circles the wagons like
Like
CTW.
CTW.
We hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Forgot
we
to say
do.
that at the beginning. So good seeing you, mate. We'll see you next
You should
week.
go. Bye.